I'm Demethius Jackson, and you're listening to a reading of my book entitled The Realmsic Conquest, The Hero of Legend. Chapter 55. Damien gave no reaction to the news of an approaching army. He knew it could only be one person. Since Maebus's escape, he knew his return was inevitable, but he didn't think it would be so soon. The warlord, admittedly, was caught by surprise. Soldier, how far away are the incoming troops? They've already penetrated the boundaries of Centerpoint. The scouts have them less than 2 miles away. So be it, Damien said. With a pivot of his heels, he turned to face his generals, all of whom, despite their gruff, hardened demeanors, were gazing anxiously at him. We'll continue our conversation at a later date, he said almost jokingly. Officers, take command of your units and ready your arms. Meet the enemy upon the field of battle and crush them once and for all. Aye, sir, they shouted in unison, immediately springing from their seats and leaping into action. Damien heard General Thane approach from behind. Where do you want me? Did you not hear me? Damien replied without turning around. On the field of battle. Go. Have mercy on the enemy who encounters me. I don't believe in mercy. Damien leaned against the council table, listening as Thane stormed from the great hall. Sekou had just arrived at his tent within the main legionary encampment when he first received news of the attacking army. All around him, his comrades were frantic. He observed them yelling at one another, barking orders and insults. Clumsily, they grabbed weapons, while others could barely find all the pieces to their uniforms. Is this really happening? Sekou asked himself. He'd never seen his comrades so disorganized, and he imagined the same frenzy was occurring throughout every one of Damien's encampments around Centerpoint. With the recently increased security and patrols, he couldn't understand how the Legion allowed themselves to be caught by surprise. Perhaps it was due to the initial target only being King Maebus and not the entire Realmsic army. Or maybe it was due to the secret war meeting called between Damien and his generals. Usually, the soldiers were known to slack off when their commanders weren't around. He figured the war meeting had proved more distraction than good. Distraction. Sekou's head jerked as the thought hit his mind. With the Legion stumbling to arms, perhaps this was the perfect opportunity to make his move. But was this really it? Was he really going to leave? In his mind, he played back all of the events that led to this moment. The lies, the deceptions, the torture. Yes, Sekou decided. The time had come to flee. It was now or never. I need to get to Ikthu, he told himself as he grabbed his belongings. Another thought occurred to him, and he stopped. I need to get to Rees in the infirmary first. Then I'll get to Ikthu, he said. Since their last conversation in the mess hall, Rees was as committed to leaving as Sekou was himself. They had created a bond, and he couldn't abandon him. Stuffing his clothes and some rations into a carrying sack, Sekou bounded from his tent and ran through the encampment towards the Realmsic castle. Juking and dodging his frantic comrades as they prepared for battle, Sekou blended into the chaos perfectly. He headed down to the infirmary, located in the castle's lower level next to the dungeon area. Once there, it didn't take long to find Rees, who stood guard outside its entrance. The soldier seemed surprised to see him appear from around the corner. Rees, Sekou began, still panting from his run. The soldier held up a palm to halt him. Don't bother. I know why you're here. Oh, really? I can see the urgency in your eyes. Rees crossed his arms across his thick chest. Okay, then. Let's go now. You mean right now? Of course right now, Sekou snapped. The Realmsic army is nearly here, and the troops are frantically preparing to engage. What better now is there? He pointed his head in the direction of the stairs. Come on, let's go. Sekou, I can't, Rees said flatly. The old soldier's eyes grew wide as he hovered in front of his comrade. What do you mean you can't? Seriously, don't play with me. Rees pumped up his chest as he spoke. I'm not playing with you. It's like I said, I can't leave just yet. I don't understand. Sekou's neck heated with fury. Have we not talked about this at length? Have I not declared that we need to move quickly? Did you not say you wanted to be a part of this? He grabbed the soldier by his uniform collar and slammed his back against the infirmary wall. Reese chuckled slightly as he reassuringly patted Sekou on the arm. No, I ain't backing out, he replied, trying to calm Sekou down. Then what is it? It's just, see, I mentioned before that there were others who feel the same as you and me. And when I told them about what we're planning to do, You what? You told people about our plan? Sekou shouted. He banged the soldier's back against the wall again, nearly knocking the wind from his chest. He then glanced from side to side, making sure they weren't overheard. Relax, tough guy, Reese chuckled while trying to catch his breath. This is a good thing I did. Besides, you told people too. What about that kid you always talking about? You mean Ikthu? Of course I told him. He's like my son. Sekou tried to control his rage and restrain his voice to a whisper. Reese pushed Sekou's hands from off him. Well, these other people are just like family to me. I can't just abandon them. Sekou was beyond incensed. You're walking a thin line, soldier. How many people we're talking about? Reese hesitated. How many? Only a couple, I swear. Fine. Get your people and meet me on top of that hill on the east side of the castle. You've got 30 minutes. If you're not there by the time I arrive, I swear to you, you're on your own. Do you get me? I get you, Reese replied. No, do you get me? Sekou pressed his long, narrow finger into the soldier's chest armor. Yes, sir, I get you. Reese then darted from the infirmary to begin his task. Standing alone, Sekou leaned against the wall and cupped his face in both his hands. What am I getting myself into? The answer would have to wait, for he needed to locate Ikthu, who was probably doing evening patrols in the dungeon. A soldier's duty was his duty, injured or not. Sekou pulled himself together and then hit it off. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to share it.